Welcome to this edition of Inside the Humidor. I'm Ed Brandyberry with Josh Mills and Carl Griffith, and we're pleased to have you here. We're going to do some pairings with different beers and ales that we have here from Belgium and from Ireland, along with our cigars. But we'd also like to let you know that some of these cigars are available online at our new store. And would you like to tell us a little bit about your project?
Yeah, we just opened up a new website here. It's called stackcigars.com. You can check out the blog on there. We'll have a steady stream of reviews. We'll have the YouTube episodes on there, different cigar reviews and industry news and that kind of stuff. And in addition to on the retail side, we'll have a host of cigars available on there. We'll be doing a lot of different cigar samplers. We'll maybe even do this episode will maybe inspire a beer tasting pack, maybe a sampler of that. So check that out, stackcigars.com.
All right. Thank you. Welcome to this edition of Inside the Humidor. I'm Ed Brandyberry, filling in for Josh Eagle. This is Josh Mills, and our guest today is Carl Griffith, our local beer authority, we'll call him. But today we're going to enjoy pairings with different ales and stout. We're going to try a Guinness. Why don't you tell us what we have here?
Well, for the Guinness, I don't think too much needs to be said. It's just regular old Guinness stout. Next up, we'll be trying from Sierra Nevada, a barley wine style ale. It's been aged in bourbon barrels. And then I don't know too much about the one on the end. Carl, you said you knew a little bit about that?
A Belgian ale.
What about Belgian ales?
There are so many today Belgian ales that are so popular. There's so many craft beers today. There's so many different brands, names. We'll be happy to try to go through them someday.
You mean there may be just as many as there are cigar blends?
At least.
Okay.
And we hope to find out.
Well, today, why don't we start with the Guinness and tell us a little bit also what you're going to be smoking with
Today,
our beverages today.
I'm going to be pairing it with the 1502 Emerald. It's a mild to medium-bodied cigar, Nicaraguan Puro. Has a light Habano wrapper on there. And what I like about this cigar is he made a mild to medium-bodied cigar that didn't use a Connecticut wrapper on it like so many brands do. So I think this is a mild cigar that'll still stand up very well to these beers we've got.
Okay. And Carl, what are you smoking today?
I am smoking a Drew English.
Yes.
It is a Nicaraguan originating from Indonesia, and it is a very sweet wrapper.
Okay.
So it is a different from the cigars you are smoking.
And I have a Perdomo. Does that surprise anyone? Perdomo 20th anniversary sun-grown. I'm smoking the Gordo, and I believe this will be my best bet to stand up against everything that we've got throwing at the cigars today. Another thing that we often miss when we're talking about these is how long some of us have been smoking cigars and how we even got into that. So we'll talk a little bit about that today as we're also enjoying our cigars and our beverages. Why don't we start out with a little bit of this. You know, one thing that we often say that some of these drinks that we have are ones that have a reputation for sometimes wiping out the flavor of a cigar. Not all of these. And so you have to be careful in how you select.
Well, that's certainly the case with this one.
Yeah.
The Guinness just absolutely blows up the flavor of the 1502. Never stands a chance. If anything, the finish from the cigar affects the beer in a negative way that I'm not a huge fan of. So right off the bat, this wouldn't be a pairing that I would wholeheartedly recommend or pick up again. But,
Is your objection to the beer or the cigar or just
I think it's just the two together don't work. I like
Yeah.
Guinness. I like the 1502 Emerald,
Right.
but together,
great
not
cigar?
yeah, just not one that stands up to the power of the Guinness on there.
Of course, the Drew Estate stands up very good. The two blend very well together. The Guinness and the sweetness of the Drew Natural is enjoyable.
Good. Well, I always enjoy a Perdomo, so whatever I'm having with my Perdomo, I want to be a nice marriage. This sun-grown goes well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Any new
So
flavors
the-
or anything that come out on there, or is it?
Yes, I'm picking up a little of that what I might describe as Corojo sweetness.
Okay.
I'm picking a little bit of that up here. I don't have as much pepper as I might normally notice at the beginning of this cigar.
Yes.
So I want to see, I'm not very far into the cigar, I want to see what happens as I go along. Because what happens is we have these flavors that are competing with one another. And what we want to have them do, I think, is to marry and give us enjoyment. How you're enjoying with that?
Very enjoyable. They go together
We should all
very
be
well.
smoking naturals.
I guess so. So yes on the English, yes on the Perdomo, and a no on the 1502 for the Guinness.
Now we'll try the Saison, the
Saison.
Belgian ale.
So after you're done pouring there, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you even got interested in cigars, Josh.
There's a quality pour. Yeah. I think I'm the junior member of this panel by a couple of years. I've been smoking for about 2 years. Kind of got into it when I first moved to Pittsburgh, and I had a cigar shop right down the road from me. So I went down there, found a couple cigars I liked. Oliva was kind of the brand that got me into it. And then when I moved out here to Moon Township, I started coming here as a customer, met Mr. Brandyberry. He started showing me some other brands. Of course, he showed me Perdomo. And
Really?
yeah. And then
I'm sure
I
it showed you
kind of fell in love with it from there. Got a job in the shop and decided that I really like cigars and I really like tobacco and the community around it and everything else. So I've been smoking for about 2 years, but I think it's been about a year that I've considered myself to be a serious cigar smoker.
Have you smoked cigars long?
Not very long. It's just a few years.
Uh-huh.
Meeting you has caused a big problem. Very enjoyable.
That's what a lot of people say, but I
Yeah.
try not to steer
It's
them
your
wrong.
fault.
It's my fault. Okay.
Yeah, it has to be someone's.
Well, I guess it does. And you can blame it on someone that way.
Well, a lot of people believe in Santa Claus.
Well, some say I look like Santa Claus. I started smoking what I now call junk cigars, but machine mades, Garcia Vegas and Anthony and Cleopatra's, and I would smoke those. I actually started with a pipe, but about 15 years ago I was introduced to my first Romeo and Julieta, and that started to change things. I still went back and forth between premiums and handmade and machine-made cigars, a premium cigar being the handmade. And I found that I just, after a while, I couldn't stomach or stand the taste of a machine-made cigar. And I really enjoy this, and now that I've gotten into these, especially in the last 10 years, and stronger, of course, in the last 2 years since I've helped out here at the shop, that we would have the enjoyment of these handmade, craftsman-created cigars. They're really, I can't say enough about what I think of the craftsmen that go craftsmanship that goes into making these cigars. We've talked about that before. You have these blenders are like master chefs, and that's what we're having the advantage of right now. Enjoying these cigars. I can always sit back and enjoy another cigar, and so this is, I won't say how many it's been for me so far today.
What do you think of the Saison, Carl?
The beer with this cigar does not go together.
No?
Not
Is it the
at all.
sweetness on the wrapper that clashes, or?
Because you have more of a bitter taste with the beer, the style. There are so many Belgian ales, like the Castile Donker, which is aged in wine barrels, and so many Belgian beers are aged in oak cask barrels, and it's just, the flavoring is so different between all of them. And it depends on everyone's taste. That's why we're doing this. Does my sweet cigar go with the bitterness of the Saison? No.
Fair enough.
How about yours?
This one, whereas with the Guinness, the 1502, that pairing was almost offensive. This one, it's not good, but it's nothing. I could drink these two side by side. They don't do anything to help each other. They don't do anything negative. Just kind of a beer and a cigar. Nothing about the pairing brings out any new flavors or enhances one or the other. It's just two sets of flavors that happen to kind of coexist.
Do you know what the fillers are in that cigar?
This is all Nicaraguan. I don't know Corojo or Criollo or what part of the plants it is.
What's amazing with the Drew Natural, between Italy and Turkey and Africa and all the different blends that they put
The
in,
different leaves in that cigar.
the
yes.
leaves are unbelievable how they blend them.
Yeah, they use tobaccos that would traditionally only be used in pipe tobacco, and gives it a really unique flavor profile. I like that.
That's
I
when
don't smoke
North
those enough.
Carolina made cigars.
I don't think they did. They may have machine cigars. This is, I'm getting more of the peppery notes
Okay.
now.
Whereas before the Guinness brought out
The
the
Guinness subdued the peppery notes,
Okay.
and brought out some sweetness in this cigar, which I rarely notice in it before. But right now, I'm enjoying this cigar with this. I didn't think I would. I really thought that this would be a bad match, bad pairing.
I truly believe that if we had 4 or 5 different more beers, we could really compare.
Well, I think
We'll
one.
look into that for next time.
Yeah, but I think one thing we could have done also differently is that we did once before is had some coffee available
Oh yeah, I didn't even think
for
of
us in between
that. Cleanse the palate.
to try to help us do that, especially if we put a little milk in the coffee. I think that would
Water
would-
doesn't work.
Well, water could work, yeah. Water would work. But I'm enjoying this.
With the beer?
So Carl says no on the English, yes on the Perdomo, and I guess kind of neither on the 1502.
Well, to compare a light beer with a good cigar, I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
To take the heavy Belgian beers, you get a much better flavor and flow with the two. There are so many beers in between. The IPAs, there's so many IPAs that would not go with these cigars.
IPAs are difficult with cigars.
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
That finish is so long and powerful.
That's what it is. It leaves that taste, the finish that's on there after you're done, as you said, with an IPA, that hoppiness, it just hangs with you. And it'll be interesting to see if Perdomo's really successful in this craft beer series that they're working on, where they've got one that's supposed to go against with IPAs, and another one with stouts, which are probably the two more difficult ones to get a nice match with.
Yeah.
Well, the
see.
stouts are a stronger flavor,
Right.
heavier, and enjoyable. Depends.
Yes, they are.
That's what's amazing. The cigars that you have within the shop, the different cigars, the different beers, it's enjoyable blending them all together.
I will say we discussed on our last pairing episode that in a previous tasting that we did at a bar, we found that something about the Sumatra wrapper lets it go with
And
IPAs.
none of us did that. I should have.
Yeah, I
maybe-
didn't think to do that
I
either.
thought of doing that too. The Rocky
That's
Patel
what the
Royale.
English
Yeah,
has.
you do have an Indonesian
I
wrapper on there.
have the
I forgot
Sumatra.
about that.
That's
wrapper.
right. And that might be one thing that contributed.
It's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Let us try the barley wine beer to see how it goes.
Now this is aged in whiskey barrels,
Kentucky bourbon barrels. It says.
Kentucky bourbon.
It's a
Okay.
barley wine style ale. It's been aged in Kentucky bourbon barrels.
I don't know what that means.
Whatever that's supposed to mean. We'll find out.
Oh, this has sort of a reddish,
A little bit
almost
of dark amber color to
Yeah,
it.
dark amber. We we talk about cigars and aromas, and our drinks have aromas too. And I think that sometimes we neglect to properly introduce ourselves to our beers, our ales, our stouts, our Belgian ales.
So many.
So many.
We have tested so many Belgian beers, and we enjoy them.
I think that's a good thing about it. Just like there are so many cigars to enjoy,
there are
there's
so
so
many
many
beers.
beers, and you could just go on and on trying to
there's-
find the right match.
And today, there's so many craft beer outlets that making their own beer that's
Right.
so enjoyable.
Yeah.
No matter where you go, not to plug any particular one, but each one has a different flavor, their own brewer masters,
That's right.
and it's so much fun testing the different beers.
Right. Those brewmasters are to these beers, these ales, these stouts, what a blender is to a cigar.
Absolutely.
Figuring out the correct formula, what's the right leaf to go with. Do I use all Corojo? Do I put some Criollo in? Do I use Dominican tobacco and Honduran tobacco together? Do I use all Nicaraguan or mix the Nicaraguan? You know, we have so many different things here. I mean, I think both of us have all Nicaraguan cigars. Your wrapper might be Ecuadorian, I'm not sure. But we have predominantly Nicaraguan. Yours doesn't have much Nicaraguan tobacco in it,
It does not.
None.
It has some.
I
Well,
think,
it has
I
some,
think
has
it's a
some,
Nicaraguan wrapper.
but when you take
binder.
so
is a
many
Nicaraguan
countries
binder, yeah.
as a filler, it changes the whole cigar. And today, by the way, is Craft Beer Week.
Is it?
So
It is.
there's an opportunity
Wow.
to try so many more.
Yeah.
Here we are
There
drinking
is.
Guinness during craft beer week. What were we thinking?
Yeah, they don't quite qualify for a craft beer.
Well, you guys had warned me before we picked this up that Sierra Nevada likes to make a hoppy beer.
This
And,
is a hoppy
They
beer.
certainly stayed true
Okay.
to course on this guy.
Well, I haven't picked it up yet. Have I?
In the same way, an IPA is hard to match. I think we'd have a hard time with these. Certainly doesn't go with the 1502 Emerald. Does not work at all.
What's amazing, the Drew Estate goes all right with it.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Well, it does have that the Sumatran wrapper on there we were discussing, which is known as
Right.
the palate
I
cleansing
think that
leaf.
makes the difference.
And
It's
that-
it's like he said, it's a palate cleansing leaf.
It's why I like this cigar.
They say if you're having more than one, when it comes to cigars, that sometimes you might want to mix a Sumatra wrapper in just to cleanse the palate.
I think this does.
How's it go with your Perdomo 20th anniversary, Ed?
We're going to find out. Wow.
In beer tasting, we have tried probably 10 different beers, from the Oktoberfest beers to the Winterfest, and we've mixed over the months different times a year, whether it's January or October. We've enjoyed the different brewing during the year, and so many cigars go well, so many do not.
Well, I remember for October, we had the Quesada Oktoberfest out, which is a cigar that was commissioned by the Munich Beer Festival. They contacted the Quesada family and asked them to make a beer that would go specifically with their German and Belgian style beers. And we tried, I don't know, you brought in a multitude of different beers that we sampled and we had with the cigar, and we found some really great pairings in there.
Yeah, we did. Especially with that cigar.
Yeah, with that cigar, I think they hit the nail right on the head. They made a cigar that went with that kind of beer
And it's
perfectly.
like your wife is not a beer drinker, but she loves Sammy Klaus
Right.
in Austrian beer.
Right.
14%. I mean, she's not a beer drinker, and she loves it.
She loved it. Yeah.
You know.
She says it's so smooth.
It's so smooth. So, I mean, it's amazing whether you take a Castile Donker, a Weybacher Winter, whether you take so many different beers. It's so enjoyable
I'm surprised
enjoying
at
the
this.
different beers.
What?
I'm surprised that it's standing up as well as it is.
Really, with how hoppy it is?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had the retrohale to keep the flavor of the cigar there, but they tell us we should all be retrohaling. So
Not always the most pleasant
some
experience.
of us
but
don't have nasal passages that agree with that idea. But
And it also would be interesting if the beers were very cold, how they would stand up to the cigar.
That's true.
These are a little warm,
right.
which gives it a different flavor,
Yeah.
different with a cigar. So there's so much warm beer, cold beer, and whether you have a light beer, to us, which is a pure water.
Well, what about the Yinglings and the? I mean, we've had some success with some cigars here with some of these beers, but mostly we don't. I think.
Yeah, I don't know why people keep bringing Miller Lite in here. Miller Lite is not a beer that goes with cigars too well in my mind.
I think they just know they're smoking a cigar,
Yeah,
and I think that what you're looking for, and you know what? If that's what they want to do, if they want to be social
oh, by all
and
means.
they want to have a Miller Lite and they want to smoke a cigar, then that's their right to do that.
But strictly from a pairing aspect,
But
I don't think
no,
you'll find too
if
many
you're
beers
after flavor,
that
if you're
complement the
after
flavor
right.
of a Miller
And then
Lite.
you can sit here and talk about Southern Tier Pumpkin Ale.
Yeah,
You would get a total different
Oh yeah.
flavor. And each beer, each cigar demands a different palate. And everybody, that's why there's so many. Everybody has an opinion.
yep.
You know, I'm enjoying this. It's sometimes like a little bit of a competition, but it's like no one's winning that
Okay.
battle. And instead, what is happening? I'm getting the spice with this, the peppery notes,
Okay.
more than I did with either of the other drinks, which
I'm surprised
shocked me.
because right when I tried that beer, I thought it was going to just absolutely wash all three of these right out. I didn't think
I
any of them
did
would stand a
too.
chance. But
I did too, but
Carl said he's held nicely. Yours is holding up.
It's amazing.
Sorry, I always get stuck with the mild
sweetness.
cigar on these things.
You
and I
have
get
the
hosed every time.
sweetness and you have the bitterness, and how the two can go together.
Well, you're the young man. You need to learn. If you'd have grabbed the Patel Royale, you'd have
I might have
probably
gone
been
a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably would have.
Yeah. No, a cigar like this, certainly a wheat beer, something a little lighter, I think would be a good pairing. Not saying just because the three we grabbed here, I think we'd agree all three of these are pretty potent in flavor, have a little bit
Yeah.
of body to them.
Yeah.
So not to say that the 1502 Emerald just doesn't go well with beers, just the three we selected today didn't quite work. But no, if you got the right, some of the Belgian wheats out there,
And we all
even something
know.
like a Yingling lager,
right.
I think would that we know all too well here in Pittsburgh. I think that could pair nicely with this. There's certainly beers out there that would go with this cigar.
I also think that one thing that we talk about pairing with beers and everything, but what would really be fun sometime is to get some different coffees in here
Oh, yeah.
too, because we all know that the universal pairing with a cigar is a coffee. And
Mild cigars, full-bodied cigars.
right,
they
it
all seem
doesn't
to work.
matter. They all seem to work with coffee, and we'll have to prove that someday, and maybe get some Colombian and some
We have a friend of the shop that's a coffee roaster.
Nicaragua.
So
Yeah, we might be able. Yeah, we might be able to
Make
get
that
something
happen.
down here. And maybe you meet that guy that makes special donuts.
He'd be another guy. Yeah.
He's another guy. Get some nice French press coffee. But back to this. Josh is probably sorry he picked the cigar he did for this pairing,
Yeah, this one didn't
because
go too
that's
well.
one you like.
I do like the cigar a lot,
I
but
do
I
too.
kind of wanted us each to have, I have a nice mild cigar. Carl's is a little bit closer to medium, and yours is closer to full. So I thought it would be nice to demonstrate three different bodies and how they interacted with these beers. But with these three particular beers, none of them were a winner. And I got to say, the only one that really paired okay was the Saison. But if I was being perfectly honest, I didn't care for this beer necessarily. Wouldn't be a beer I would drink. For the pairing, the flavors matched okay and everything else, but certainly not my favorite beer, not one that I would grab all the time.
Well, that's the one that went best, so have a little more.
I'll have a little more.
That's good.
Cheers, guy. Edward, enjoy.
We don't touch cigars. That's another bad etiquette. Tends to get ash all over me since I'm in the middle.
Very enjoyable.
And I spill enough ash on myself. What about ash? How long should we let our ash go?
Well, they say to let your cigar ash naturally, and one of the reasons they say to do so is because the ash on there helps to insulate and cool the smoke as you're smoking it. I don't know if that's worth, ashing all over yourself all the time. So
No,
I kind of
I
when it
do
gets
a lot of
past
that.
when I gets past quarter, half an inch, I give it a light tap on the ashtray, and if it falls, it falls.
What about
If not,
snubbing it?
Snubbing it. What do you mean?
Just sticking it in the
Oh
ashtray?
yeah,
and-
that's as far as all the different cigar etiquette goes, we talked a little bit about this before. I don't like to get too crazy into the etiquette, but that is one of the no-nos. Just because you don't take the cigar and ash it into the ashtray like that, creates an offensive smell in the lounge. Creates a mess.
It
I mean,
does.
it's just one of those things that you're
And
not
it
going to get
doesn't-
thrown out of the lounge for ashing your cigar that way. Certainly not. But
Isn't it amazing how you can take a cigar and the filler be from Asia, Turkey, Africa, Spain, Italy, and all the mixtures to put them together to make a fine tasting cigar?
yeah,
We're back to those blenders
The
again,
blenders.
Carl.
It's
I mean,
the blend.
they do an amazing job. It's I don't think it's something you can be taught. I think they have to be people
Gotta have
that
a palate
already
for it.
have an exceptional sense of taste.
absolutely.
We talk about notes of spice and caramel and coffee and cocoa and things like that.
They're on a whole nother
And
level.
they're on a whole other level. They go, oh, I taste Lapa Viso, and
There's so many cigars that are aged in pepper, jalapeno. I have a friend that has a cigar that he calls the Punisher. The first inch of that cigar is so peppery, hot, but then after the first inch, it settles
Well, they
down.
actually infuse it with habanero oil, and that cigar's not for me. Not one that
That
gotta
would,
have an ice cold. beer
that
next to
would
that
probably go well with this hoppy one that we've got going
one.
right
Maybe.
now.
I don't know.
It would punish the hops.
But that's what's enjoyable
It
to
is.
each individual.
Yes, it is.
I mean, even to take a new cigar coming out that's full of pepper, how would you smoke a cigar with pepper? But it's enjoyable, depending on the individual.
right.
Cigar we'll have to look into for you, Carl. Made by the same guys that make that, the guys at Drew Estate. It's called the Pope of Greenwich, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a line of cigars like the craft beer series from Perdomo that was made to go with different beers.
It's actually infused.
It is infused.
I believe so.
Okay. I think I've read a couple different things from different sources.
Some say it's not.
Yeah, some say that it's
Okay.
aged in different barrels and stuff like that, whereas others say that it's actually an infusion process. So
As we know, 60 years ago, everything was Cuban.
yep.
Yes.
That's all we heard and grew up with. Is it going to change cigars now that Cuba is opening back up?
Well, they haven't opened up tobacco-wise.
Well, I just mean, do you
But-
feel
but-
that it,
I think that if Cuba can grow enough quality tobacco, all right, and that's an issue. If they can grow enough quality tobacco, it just broadens the whole spectrum of what blenders will have to work with.
It's like giving a painter a whole new color.
Yeah, it's right. And you just took the palette that the painter uses, in this case the blender, and you threw more on. I mean, they use at a minimum Criollo and Corojo tobacco, and then you have the different parts of the plant you take the leaf from, and those parts have different characteristics, as do the different valleys they can be grown in.
was you joke about the seed that Cuba had that was passed around the world,
That's right.
and now how that's going to affect the Cuban, quote, cigar compared to today?
Well, we know that the Cubans have been buying and trying to buy more Nicaraguan tobacco. They just don't tell people that they're putting some Nicaraguan tobacco in their cigars.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, they've been doing that. I know a man who has had offers from the Cubans to sell it, and they'd be the last people he'd probably sell it to. So, but anyhow, that just brings us to the end of our show here. I mean, we've enjoyed these cigars. Maybe you haven't as much as
I still enjoy it.
Carl and
Still
I
enjoy it.
have.
I
I've
think we can
enjoyed it.
always enjoy a cigar.
Yeah.
More of yours was just the experience of smoking a cigar, and you didn't get the enjoyment of the marriage. None of these really married fantastically with the Perdomo 20th. Were any of them just really outstanding together?
None were offensive.
None were offensive.
Beers
Yeah.
are harder.
Yes.
I think if we ever did a rum specific episode or a Scotch or a bourbon specific episode, I think we have a much easier time with
Yeah,
the
we
different
would.
liquors. There are phenomenal beer pairings out there, but they're fewer and further between than I think rum is one of the more popular ones, and I know all the guys down there in Nicaragua and Dominican and that they drink great rums when they're
Smoking cigar?
when they're smoking cigars down
Flor de
there.
Caña is one.
Florida Connie was excellent, so I think we'd have an easier time with liquors than with beers. So we'll have to do a little more hunting and come back with
Sure.
some
We'll have to
phenomenal
do that.
pairings. We'll have to do another beer episode sometime.
It'll be interesting how Manhattan, how a
Yeah, then you get
gin
into
and
cocktails.
tonic,
It's a whole different
how
animal.
a
Yeah, cocktails are a whole other field.
old fashioned,
Right.
however your drink is, how the cigar goes with that mixed drink.
Yes. That's another show. And thank you for tuning in to Inside the Humidor. I'm Ed Brandyberry,
Josh Mills.
Carl Griffith.
and we thank you again. Why don't you go out there and, as the boss says, burn one. Thank you for watching this episode of Inside the Humidor. We hope that you've enjoyed these pairings. We know we have, and enjoyed the time we had together. If you have any questions about pairings, about cigars, we would be glad to answer your questions. Just send them to info@smokestackpgh.com. And we hope that you'll be able to come and visit us at the Smokestack sometime. We have a lounge, over 750 cigars, and I think that we've got something to match everyone's palate. Thank you very much.